Federal courts block Trump's immigration moves, what it means for families. A sudden shift in the courts has shaken U.S. immigration policy this week. For families already living with fear and uncertainty, these rulings may represent a fragile but critical lifeline. Children and parents who believed the system had turned entirely against them are now seeing courts step in to protect their basic rights. While temporary, these rulings carry enormous weight for families across the nation. Today, we break down the federal court decisions that stunned immigrant families, explain what protections remain, and uncover why this moment matters for every immigrant in the United States. The Flores Settlement survives. For decades, the Flores Settlement Agreement has been one of the few safeguards protecting children in U.S. immigration custody. It restricts how long minors can be detained, demands humane conditions, and blocks indefinite holds. The Trump administration argued that Flores should be scrapped. Officials claimed detention facilities had improved enough to replace its protections. But this week, Judge Dolly G. rejected those arguments outright. Her ruling was clear: better facilities do not erase the need for Flores. If anything, they prove why the agreement still matters. Children must not be subjected to endless detention. This ruling ensures that families can breathe slightly easier. Parents will not see their children locked away indefinitely under claims that standards have already been met. The protections remain intact, at least for now. Flores has long symbolized a line in the sand, a reminder that children are not simply statistics in the immigration system. By preserving it, Judge G sent a message that courts will not blindly follow political pressure when fundamental rights are at stake. Humanitarian parole and due process. At nearly the same time, another major decision came from Washington, D.C. Judge Jacob temporarily blocked a Trump administration plan that would have stripped due process from humanitarian parole recipients. The administration had planned to fast-track deportations, denying parole recipients the right to appear before an immigration judge. Refugees, evacuees, and families admitted legally under humanitarian programs would have been removed without hearings. Judge Cobb's ruling restored the critical right to a hearing. Until the legal battle concludes, parole recipients remain entitled to stand before a judge before deportation. This decision reinforces a central principle: even in politically charged times, the Constitution and due process cannot simply be set aside. It is a reminder that America's legal system still checks executive power. The ruling also highlights the vulnerability of humanitarian parole. While often portrayed as temporary, for many families it is the only safe doorway into the United States. Denying due process would have closed that door completely. Why these rulings matter for families? For everyday families, time is everything. Every delay in enforcement provides precious opportunities to file paperwork, gather evidence, or adjust eligibility for immigration benefits. Children relying on age-sensitive protections under the immigration system need time to remain eligible for green cards. Parents fighting to secure their family's future need time to prepare their cases. Without these court rulings, families could lose everything within weeks. With them, they gain breathing room, dignity, and another chance to be heard. These cases also restore faith in the system, proving that independent judges can still uphold fairness even when politics suggest otherwise. For immigrant families, this balance is not abstract, it's the difference between security and separation. The fragile nature of these wins. It is important to recognize that these victories are temporary. The Trump administration is expected to appeal, potentially sending these cases all the way to the Supreme Court. That means families should not become complacent. Anyone affected by Flores protections or humanitarian parole must remain vigilant. Consulting an attorney, tracking every filing, and preparing for the next stage is critical. What feels like relief today may vanish tomorrow. These rulings buy time, but they do not guarantee permanent security. Immigration cases have historically turned on sudden reversals. A family safe one month may find themselves vulnerable the next. This uncertainty explains why advocacy groups urge immigrants to take every court victory as a signal to prepare, not to relax. The larger legal pattern. This is not the first time courts have pushed back against attempts to narrow immigrant rights. Just this summer, courts rejected efforts to restrict birthright citizenship, another cornerstone of U.S. immigration law. Together, these cases reveal a pattern. Judges are stepping in to slow down some of the most aggressive immigration policies, forcing the administration to justify its actions under the Constitution. But immigration law has always shifted with political winds. Families should see these rulings not as the end of the fight but as part of an ongoing struggle where nothing is guaranteed. Every administration has tested boundaries. Every court decision sets new precedents. The outcome of today's cases could influence immigration law for decades. The human impact. The stakes are painfully real. Without Flores, children who grew up speaking English in U.S. schools could have been declared abandoned, trapped indefinitely in detention centers. Without Judge Cobb's ruling, families fleeing war or violence under humanitarian parole could have been deported overnight, without even speaking to a judge. These rulings prevent those outcomes for now. They restore dignity for children, preserve family unity, and ensure that immigrants still have a voice in the system. But the system remains fragile. Each victory is balanced by the threat of reversal. Each safeguard exists under constant pressure. Behind every statistic are families experiencing sleepless nights, children fearing separation, and parents balancing legal deadlines with everyday survival. The human cost of immigration policy is rarely abstract. It plays out daily in living rooms, classrooms, and courtrooms. A local example of national impact. In Tennessee, the small town of Mason recently approved plans to convert a shuttered prison into an immigration detention center. Local leaders defended the move as an economic opportunity, a way to bring jobs to a struggling community. But immigrant rights groups warn that such facilities too often become sites of abuse and neglect. Families detained far from major cities struggle to access legal support or community networks. This decision in Mason is a reminder of how immigration enforcement expands quietly, even as court rulings slow it down. For families, new detention centers mean more uncertainty, more fear, and more potential separation. It also highlights the clash between economic incentives and human rights. While local officials may see revenue, immigrant communities see another facility that could tear families apart. Preparing for the next phase. Families cannot afford to view these court victories as permanent protection. Appeals are coming, policies will continue shifting, and enforcement will evolve. The smartest move for immigrant families today is preparation. Stay connected to advocacy organizations. Follow every USCIS update carefully. Understand your rights in detail. Knowledge remains the strongest shield against sudden policy changes. Those who stay informed, proactive, and legally prepared stand the best chance of protecting their families when the next shift comes. Attorneys often stress the importance of documentation, keeping records, meeting deadlines, and filing correctly. In uncertain times, paperwork can mean the difference between a denied case and a successful appeal. Families who prepare now will be better positioned later. Closing thoughts. This week's federal rulings give immigrant families a rare measure of relief in an era of heightened enforcement. Flores protections remain intact. Due process for humanitarian parole recipients has been restored. But these wins are fragile, and the fight is not over. Families must stay alert, seek legal guidance, and prepare for the next battle ahead. Immigration remains one of the most contested issues in America. Every case, every ruling, every delay can change lives overnight. For families caught in this system, time is not abstract. It is survival. That's all for today's update from U.S. Immigration Intel. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for future updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.